All right, thanks for coming in, guys. You're here to see Steve Carter pursuing a godly marriage. Steve's a pastor, speaker, author, podcast host. He's also married to Sarah, and he's going to tell us about pursuing a godly marriage. Hey, let's give Pastor Steve a big no regrets welcome.
Thanks, bro. Well, good morning, everyone. Wasn't Chris Brown fantastic? Love that guy. Love that guy. Every talk that he does, he has this way of just telling a story, and you're like, I have no idea where he's going. And then it always just brings you to understand a deeper sense of who Christ is. I love the whole verse. That's the theme of No Regrets this year. It says this in 1 Timothy chapter 6. It simply says, verse 11, but you, man of God, flee from all this, pursue righteousness. And this idea of righteousness was always connected to right living, where justice and shalom were present. So here's a call, every one of us, to pursue righteousness, where justice, right living, and peace is manifested. Godliness. Because when you actually are pursuing righteousness, godliness, proper character, integrity will happen. Faith and love. It's like where you say what you mean what you say, you are consistent and safe, and you're the kind of person that just is unconditional in what you do. And you have endurance and gentleness. And when you can read this and you can simply say, oh, this is Paul writing to Timothy, spiritual mentee. This is what I want you to be. But I think he's also saying in every arena of your life, not just in your own life, but in your marriage. And let's just be really, really honest. Marriage is hard. You take two people, two wildly different stories, and all of a sudden they become one. I remember on March 6th, 2004, I stood in a small chapel in Arizona, and the pastor pronounced us husband and wife, and I was given a title I did not deserve. That I would spend the rest of my life living up to and into husband to Sarah. All I had ever known was being a bachelor, being an only child. There was no like, hey, here's how you become a married man and don't sabotage your marriage. There's no class. And so I was given a title. The same thing happened when I became a dad, when the nurse handed me little Emerson and she said, here you go, Dad. I spent the rest of my life living into and up to a title that I had no idea what I was doing. The same thing's true of being a Christ follower, a disciple. I was given a title, you are a Christ follower. The power of Christ lives within you. And I was like, I don't know how to do this. I didn't grow up in a Christian home. So it wasn't like shown at the dinner table how to read this book. The way that my parents fought, the way that they didn't talk, the way that they would stonewall each other, the way that they would talk over one another, the emotional and verbal abuse, it was not something that prepared me well for marriage. And I find myself for the last almost 20 years trying to figure out, how do I pursue righteousness? How do I pursue godliness? How do I pursue faith and love, endurance? How do I do this? And I think for many of us, we want to be good men. We want to be good husbands. We want our kids to look at us and go, I want to be more like him. Or I want to find someone to be my husband that's like him. But for many of us, the map that we were given wasn't great. Maybe you're watching somewhere in Ohio, somewhere in Arizona, some country, and you're asking the same question, how? And I've found that there's one Bible verse that's really helped me. Not when there's an argument with my wife, not after I say something or don't follow through like I should, but it's one I come back to all the time, and it's found in Romans chapter 7, verse 15. And it simply says this, and it's Paul writing, and he goes, I do not understand what I do. For the good I want to do, I just don't do, but the thing I hate, I do. It is the most honest and human verse in the scriptures. The problem is it just doesn't work on Twitter these days. It's not like you can say something, do something, not follow through, and you're like, hey, to quote Paul, I don't understand what I do. I mean, I want to do good, I just don't do it. The thing I hate, I just keep doing. And I think in this day and age, as men, we have to grow in curiosity to understand, why do we do what we do? I mean, I have to ask myself that question. Why do I do what I do? A number of years ago, I was driving, and we lived in Grand Rapids, Michigan at the time, and it was a snowstorm. It was breaking out, and I'm just driving, leaving my grandparents' house. I got my wife, I got my 9-month-old at the time in the car, and as we're driving, all of a sudden, this huge chunk of ice hits our car. And it had been flurrying down, and all of a sudden, I get maybe a 1/10 of a mile past, and I realize something. Someone threw a chunk of ice at us. And so what do? I flip a U-turn. My wife's like, what are you doing? I'm like, someone threw ice at us. And she's like, babe, let's just get home. It's late. I'm like, no. You know what I do? I pull the car over. It's a snowstorm. I cross 4 lanes of traffic. I see someone running, and I'm like, I'm gonna catch you. I come to an embankment that I think I can jump. I start to jump, and I realize I can't jump this. And I land in a pile of snow up to my waist. The problem is, underneath the little bit of snow, it was just like a creek. And so now I got soaking wet pants, and now I'm really hot. And I'm like, I see you. I'm gonna find you. I take off running through a field. I see these people running, and then I get to this little suburban neighborhood, run into it. It's like a cul-de-sac, but because I watch CSI, I know what to do. I close my eyes and I just start to listen. 3 doors down, a garage goes down. I run to this house, I bang on the door, and an old man opens up. And I'm like, hey, is someone just running here? He's like, oh yeah, my grandson and his buddy. I'm like, can I have a word? And all of a sudden the door opens, and it's 2 6th graders. And I have this moment of sheer anger that I want to lose my ever-loving mind on these 2 guys. And all of a sudden I have this whisper and this prompting, and God just is saying who's the crazy one here? I look at these 2 kids, and they're scared out of their mind, and I just say, nice shot, and I walk away. As I walk back to my wife, who I've left stranded in a snowstorm on the side of a road, soaking wet pants, my wife, as I get in the car, goes, what is going on? And I realized something. We were just on the verge of leaving California to move out of state. That's the last time I was gonna see my grandparents. My dad had leukemia, and he was sick, and I felt really, really bad for leaving to take this new assignment at a different church. And on my way to my grandparents' house, the people who said they were gonna buy our home backed out. And something happened. Something happened in this moment that I didn't know how to process with my wife, my fear, my sadness, my wondering, does God actually have us in this moment? I didn't know how to talk about that. And then someone threw a chunk of ice, 2 6th graders. And it gave me this level of escape. And my moment of madness was because I couldn't talk about my sadness. Here's what I've come to realize about marriage. I brought a girl home in college. I was trying to get my dad to affirm me for dating this girl. And I asked my dad, I said, Dad, what do you think? What do you think? After she had left that night, and he said, it doesn't matter. Here's what I know to be true. Every person that you meet has beauty and has crazy. And if you think about marriage, you just gotta find the person who's crazy. You will wake up each morning trying to love and not try to change. I was like, man, that is genius. I've been thinking about this a lot. Because if we're actually merging 2 becoming 1, 2 different childhoods, 2 different kinds of trauma, 2 different gifts, all of this becoming 1, it's gonna be a little bit messy. And for many of us, we find ourselves just constantly saying something to our wife that we shouldn't have said, not saying something that we should have been more intimate or honest or human about. We take it on ourselves. And I've come to realize something, that our wives and us to our wives, we're mirrors, reflecting back the unique beauty and brokenness. And somehow God has brought someone into your life to reflect back to you the parts that are profoundly Christ-like and the parts that are just not there yet. And you get to do the same for your bride every single moment of every single day. I called my mentor after I had this moment of madness chasing 2 sixth graders in the snow, and I called him and he said something to me. He said, "Steve, welcome to the thing beneath the thing, the endless discovery of what's really going on." And here's what I want you to understand. I'm gonna give you a phrase that has wildly transformed my marriage, and it's this: the thing beneath the thing. Because it's never about the toilet seat being up. It's never about you not following through. It's never about this or that. There's always something deeper that's happening. And the more that you as men can create the space to actually allow your spouse to share about the thing beneath the thing, and the more that you have the power to access the thing beneath the thing, the more opportunity for intimacy and connection and pursuing, as men of God, righteousness, and faith, and godliness, and love, and endurance, and gentleness to your bride and to yourself. So what I want to do is I want to help you learn this. This is something that has radically transformed my marriage. The thing beneath the thing, and the thing is actually an acronym. And if you can remember this, I'm telling you, you will have moments that will help you understand why you do what you do and what to actually do about it. The T is the word triggers. And the triggers are simple. It's just the setup that sets us off. Every great comedian understands a good setup. And this whole idea of a great setup is I want to take you in a direction and then in a matter of moments, surprise you. Surprise you. Turn the whole story, flip the whole scene. And it's in that moment of surprise that often it leads to laughter. But in our everyday life, we are working for efficiency. We are moving forward. We're tackling our list. We are going through our day. We have a plan. We have a vision. We have a mission. And then we actually bump into other people that are broken and that are fractured and that don't know how to drive, that literally cut us off. And all of a sudden, that surprise doesn't send us to a place of laughter. It releases all of this energy in our body that has to go somewhere. And it's the antithesis of pursuing righteousness and godliness and faith and love and endurance and gentleness. And all of a sudden, we feel all of this, and it's got to send us somewhere. Now, I've lived in Chicago for so many years, and what's amazing about Chicago, nobody ever tells you this, is they have a pothole problem. They're literally everywhere. And I know for some of you here in Milwaukee or in other parts of the country, Philly, you get this. But I'm driving one day, and all of a sudden, I'm in downtown Chicago, and I'm listening to sports radio, and we're just all in a moment of lament because, for so many years, we've just not had a quarterback. We always lose to Green Bay. And so I'm just frustrated by that. I'm turning with sports radio, and I hit a pothole, and I know right away I got a flat. So I pull the car over. Now, here's the crazy thing about the city of Chicago. They have a 3-digit number where you can call and report a pothole. So I dial 311, lady picks up, and I'm like, hey, I'm here to report a pothole. And if you report a pothole and the pothole hasn't been dealt with in a timely manner, they will pay for your damage, which is why the city of Chicago is going bankrupt, but that's another sermon. So I report the pothole. She's like, I'm so sorry, Steve, you're the first one. But the teacher in me, so curious, I'm like, wait. You have your own number. How many potholes do you fill in? She's like, well, the Chicago Tribune's just done a story on us. Hey, can you want to guess in the last 100 days how many potholes we filled in? I'm like, sure. She's like, take a guess. I'm like, 10,000, a little bit more, 20,000, a little bit more. I don't know, 30,000, a little bit more. I'm like, ma'am, you sound like my dad. Just tell me the answer. She goes, one more guess. I say 35,000. She goes, wrong. 138,000 in the last 100 days. If you Google this on your phone right now, the city of Chicago pothole tracker, you will see a map where they literally come up to a pothole and they will like clean it, fix it, and then hit the pothole tracker and move on to the other 100,000 that they got to take care of. But potholes are caused because water freezes and it expands. And unlike sweatpants, asphalt can't do that. Creates a hole. And here's the thing, many of us just come up to those potholes, they see them, add a little asphalt, hit the pothole tracker, and they move on. But sometimes those potholes were created not by inclement weather, but by something that was happening underneath the surface. A leaky sewage pipe, some level of erosion. If they don't actually deal with the thing beneath the thing, that pothole will become a sinkhole that will do massive collateral damage. And this happened in the city of Chicago. A 75-year-old guy was driving and the whole road gave out. Millions of dollars of damage. He dropped down 2 stories, ended up being okay, had the ride of his life. But the truth is this, every one of us, by just being human and walking in a broken and fractured world, have potholes. When someone told you you weren't enough, you don't have what it takes, when someone let you down, when someone betrayed you, when you actually made choices that went against your body being a temple, we all have potholes, and every single day, somebody's getting close to those potholes. And you know what's amazing is that I think for many of us in our marriage, we just allowed that to be permission to escape. And oftentimes we went from triggers and we have all of this energy, someone gets close to our potholes, and for many of us in our marriage, you know where we go? To hideouts. To hideouts. And those are just the metaphorical places we go to escape. Our wife says something, we don't actually know how to talk about that, and so what do? We go online. We go dominate in fantasy football, which I won this year with Brady Gaga, but that's another story. But I'll tell you what ends up happening for many of us is we have these hideouts where we go to self-soothe. It's not towards intimacy and connection with our wife. We just go and we find ourselves hiding out. And some of those hideouts are socially acceptable. Food. Some of those are socially acceptable, just doing work, just working, just trying to make money to provide for our family. Some of those hideouts are something that we actually get a little bit of performance and people are like, great job, that's so good, but you know that you're running from the actual thing beneath the thing. And some of those hideouts aren't actually healthy, they're unhealthy escapes. We go to soothe and to numb out, disconnected from our wife. See, every time you get triggered, you're gonna go somewhere. For some of us, it's to a healthy escape, some of it's to an unhealthy escape. The third place that often ends up happening when we get triggered, you go to hideouts, we often go to insecurities. And all of a sudden we get triggered and we're like, man, I'm not enough. I don't have what it takes. And all of a sudden, all of this shame just begins to rest on us. And it gets really, really difficult as men. Because all of a sudden, we don't feel like we're enough for our spouse. And we find ourselves just feeling less than. It's amazing, it's really easy for us to gossip about other people. But when we start believing these lies about ourselves and about who God made us to be as men, you know what we're doing? We're actually gossiping about ourselves. You don't have what it takes, you're not good enough. And what's amazing is in this moment, often, we end up putting on a mask. And some of us in our moment of insecurity with our spouse, we just put on a pleaser mask. We try to make them all happy. We put on a performance mask. We try to perform and act like we have it all together. For some of us, we put on a pretender mask, and it's like we're just in this imposter syndrome and try to act like we know what to do, and we have no idea, and we don't know how to be honest. For some of us, we put on a perfecter mask, and we just act like we are perfect. And for many of us, in these moments of insecurity, we just power down, get silent, withdraw, get a little mopey, go hang out in the office or the man cave or the bedroom by ourselves. I grew up in a home that didn't power down. I grew up in a home when my parents lost control. What did they do? They powered up. They banged their fist on the table. They started saying things that were more verbally and emotionally abusive towards the spouse. And I would just watch this from the upstairs banister, and I would hear them say things that never should be said to one another. When you get triggered, where do you go? In a hideout. When you get triggered, what mask do you typically put on with your spouse? Are you someone who powers down, pleases, pretends, perfects, performs, or powers down or powers up? And the truth is, all of those masks are grounded in insecurity. Or, for many of us, when we get triggered, we don't go to a hideout, we don't go to an insecurity, we go to a narrative. And this is really, really dangerous because we create a false story about another person. And oftentimes we turn our beautiful bride into the villain. She's always like this. She's always against me. We have no idea that in this moment, what we're doing is we're creating more distance. And it's a little bit like Plato theology, where we're shaping and forming her not into this beautiful bride entrusted to us to lead and love and walk with, but we are beginning to shape and form her into a villain. And we give ourselves permission to do it. And for some of us, we all probably struggle with lustful thoughts. But oftentimes when it comes to narratives, you ever have anger fantasies? There's moments where you're just driving and you're like, man, I want to just say something to her. I just want to And for some of us, maybe it's a coworker, maybe it's a kid, maybe it's an in-law. But oftentimes what ends up happening is we've created a narrative that we have believed to be true about another. And this is where Paul would tell Timothy, flee from this, man of God. Pursue righteousness. Pursue godliness, faith and love, endurance and gentleness towards her and towards yourself. But here's the most amazing piece. As I came home one day, I had shared some ideas for a teaching series. I came home and I was frustrated because one guy had minimized my idea. I came home and I just said, gosh, he did it again. My wife's like, what'd he do? I shared my idea and this guy just minimized it. And you know what my wife said? My wife said, isn't God so kind? I'm like, what do you mean God's so kind? I need you to have my back. Be angry at this guy. I'm like, why is God so kind? And she's like, you know why God's so kind? Because he keeps bringing people into your life who remind you of that person who deeply wounded you. He's so kind because he keeps giving you opportunities to deal with that. And until you have the courage to deal with that, he's gonna keep bringing people into your life who remind you of that. So the real question is, do you have the courage today? You know what I said to her? Get behind me, Satan. No, I didn't say that. But here's the thing though. What she did was so powerful. In this moment, she reflected back and she said, wait, why are you really triggered? What's really going on? So you think that this is just about this meeting and this conversation? There's a thing beneath the thing. That this person reminds you of someone who deeply wounded you. And here, as Paul will write later, it's his kindness that leads us to repentance. See, the glory of God wants to make every part of you whole. John Wesley, an old theologian, used to talk about 3 stages of grace, and we're really good in the church talking about one stage of grace where God rescues us through his son's death, burial, and resurrection, saving us from our own sin. But what we don't often talk about is the second stage of grace, which Wesley would call sanctifying grace. And this is where grace actually makes every pothole whole, holy, and spiritually healthy, so that our potholes don't go unattended to and become sinkholes that don't just affect us, but affect everyone around us. What I began to realize is what we as men get to be as carriers of grace for our brides. Not just people who forgive and forget, not saying that, but people who learn to get curious. See, when your wife is really struggling, I'll teach you a question again that's radically transformed our marriage, and it's simply this. Babe, what's the thing beneath the thing? She'd be like, ooh, what's that mean? And you're like, well, I've just been working on this. Take full credit for it. She's like, I think you got triggered, babe. I think you got triggered. And you can run to some hideout, but we don't want to be those kind of people. Or I sense you're telling yourself a false story that's not true. Can I remind you who you are? Or it seems like you're turning that person into a villain, creating a narrative. What's really going on? What's underneath that? I guarantee you, she'll talk. She will talk, she will share, she will be honest, but it's in this moment that you'll begin to see what grace wants to do. And what does grace want to do for you? Make you whole, holy, and spiritually healthy. What does grace want to do for your wife? Make her whole, holy, and spiritually healthy. And I promise you this, the more that you can have those conversations, the more intimacy that will take place. Because intimacy is the connection and the trust. And when you pursue this kind of godly marriage, what you are actually doing is creating safety. And safety, over and over and over again, creates consistency. And consistency over and over and over again with safety is what builds trust and vulnerability. Nobody just shows up one day and goes, you know what I want to be? Really, really vulnerable. But when someone can showcase safety again and again and again, being consistent again and again and again, it builds that trust. It builds that connection. And in the Hebrew word, the word was echad, which literally meant oneness. Oneness. So when your wife does something, don't make it about the thing that you are frustrated about. Get curious and wonder, I wonder what's underneath that. I wonder what part of her story this is actually connected to. Because the truth is, whenever you react, you're just reenacting the past. Or if you ever find yourself getting hysterical, it's most likely historical. Or someone let you down. Someone betrayed you. Someone hurt you. Or when you're watching this with your sweet bride, beautiful bride, amazing bride, gift of God bride, when you're seeing her get hysterical or react, just slow it down. And simply just say, hey, it feels like there's more going on. Can you help me understand? Well, you should know better. I don't know that unless you help me. And if you can begin to walk with a level of curiosity, what it will invite is what we all long for. Trust, safety, vulnerability, connection, and intimacy. So can I ask you, what triggers you? What triggers you? And what are those triggers really connected to? And our work as men of God, who are pursuing the righteousness, who are pursuing godliness, character formation, it's our work to work on filling those potholes so they don't become sinkholes that affect our kids, that affect our marriage. Because none of us wakes up one day and goes, you know what I want to do today? I want to blow up my integrity. You know what I really want to do is I want to blow up every relationship in my life. You know what I want to do? I want to just decimate my marriage. None of us do that, but it happens. And it happens because we never did the work to understand why we do what we do. And that's why God's word is so beautiful. When you get triggered, you're going to go somewhere. And many of us as men, we run to hideouts that aren't good for our soul, aren't good for our mind, aren't good for our heart, aren't good for our marriage. Or we've believed a lie about ourselves and it's been grounded in insecurity. Or we've created narratives about others. But men of God, when we pursue righteousness, is when we invite that sanctifying grace to make us whole, holy, and spiritually healthy. And when we can then do that work and give that away to our bride, I'm telling you, that's when your marriage becomes the kind of marriage that your kids go, I want that. Because it's honest, it's human, it's real, it's authentic, it's raw, and it's vulnerable, and it's allowing Christ's grace to redeem, restore, and make you whole, holy, and spiritually healthy. Sound good? The question is, what's the thing beneath the thing? Thanks so much for being here, guys. Talk about this, chop it up, be honest, be human. And everyone, we'll see you again later. Grace and peace.